Who has the most and least plastic fans in the Championship? Let's find out. So what is a plastic fan? For the purposes of this video, we're going to say someone who's happy to turn up to one of your team's biggest games of the season, but when it's cold and rainy Tuesday night, they're not showing up. So how have we gone about figuring this out? Well, I've taken each Championship club's highest league attendance so far this season, and I've stacked that against their lowest league attendance from this season to work out the difference. Basically, with the logic being, the bigger the variation between your highest and lowest attendance, the more plasticky fans you've got in the middle, and the lower that variation, the more core solid fan base that you've got that are turning up week in, week out, no matter who you're playing. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to drop a like, but without any further ado, let's jump in. And unfortunately for Blackburn Rovers fans, based on this data, they are ranked as the most plastic fan base in the Championship. They've got the biggest variation this season between their highest attendance and lowest attendance. Unsurprisingly, their highest attendance of the season did come when they played Burnley at home. It was absolutely packed out, over 25,000 fans in at Ewood Park, but you compare that to their lowest league attendance of the season, just over 12,800. That's a variation of over 13,000 fans. Coming in 23rd on this list, we've got the Cardiff fans. They've had a variation of 11,530 between their highest and lowest league attendance this season. Unsurprisingly, Cardiff's biggest attendance of the season was for their local derby against Swansea, and their lowest league attendance of the season actually came against my team, Preston North End. The game was on a Wednesday night, and you will see a continuing trend of that. The vast majority of these Championship sides' lowest league attendances this season do tend to come in a midweek match, but that's quite a big variation there between the highest and lowest league attendances. Next up on this list, we've got the Sheffield Wednesday fans. Now, they definitely have one of the biggest fan bases in the Championship, but they've also had one of the biggest variations in terms of when they're packing out Hillsborough compared to when that's not always the case. Their biggest league attendance this season did come in the Steel City Derby, over 33,000 fans there at Hillsborough on that occasion, but you contrast that to their lowest league attendance of the season when they got just over 22,400 fans during a midweek game against Swansea. Coming in 21st place, we've got the Borough fans. They've had a fluctuation of 9,970 fans between their highest and lowest attendance this season. Borough's attendances peaked on Boxing Day when they faced Sheffield Wednesday, but they fell to a seasonal low last month when they played QPR in midweek and only attracted a crowd of just over 22,100 fans. Maybe quite surprisingly, but ranked 20th on this list, we've got the Sunderland fans, who have had a fluctuation of over 8,500 fans between their highest and lowest attendances. Now, it goes without saying, Sunderland have by far and away the biggest average gates in the Championship, and even at their lowest number of just over 35,400 fans, most Championship clubs would absolutely kill to have that as a average attendance figure, never mind a seasonal low. But in the case of Sunderland this season, their attendances peaked when they played Hull City back in February, and they had their lowest gate of the season when they played Bristol City during a midweek game back in December. Ranked in 19th place, we've got my side, Preston North End. There's been a fluctuation at Deepdale this season of just over 8,100 fans. Our highest gate this season in the Championship was just shy of 21,000. That was when we played Blackburn earlier in the season, and our lowest league attendance this season came against Swansea when we played them on a Tuesday night. To be fair to me, I did go to that midweek game against Swansea, so you can't be calling me a plastic fan in the comments down below. And speaking of Swansea, they're next up on this list. Unsurprisingly, their attendances in the Championship peaked back in August when they played Cardiff at home, by far and away their biggest gate of the season, over 20,000 fans. But when you contrast that to their lowest league attendance of the season, which came against Watford on a Tuesday night game back in November, they do have a pretty big fluctuation of over 7,300 fans in total. Derby have had the third biggest average attendances in the Championship this season, but the fluctuation between their highest and lowest crowd has been pretty big as well. Their attendances this season peaked when they played Leeds United back in December, where there were over 32,000 fans packed into that ground on that occasion, but the lowest the attendances have been at Derby this season was back during a midweek clash against Swansea in November, when there was only just over 25,000 fans there. Coming in 16th place, we've got the Bristol City fans. This season, they've had a fluctuation of 6,826 fans between their highest and lowest attendance. Now, Bristol City have done a good job in recent years of growing their average fan base. Attendances have been improving year to year. Their lowest attendance of this season came back in February when they played Stoke City in midweek, where they got crowds of just over over 18,400. Coming in 15th place on this ranking, we've got the Stoke City fans. They've had a fluctuation of 6,489 fans this season. Stoke's attendances actually peaked this season when they played Plymouth back in January. They got crowds of over 26,000 on that occasion, but their lowest point was a midweek game against Bristol City back in October. Ranked in 14th place on this list, we've got the Millwall fans in at the Den. Their highest attendance this season has been just over 18,300. You rank that against their lowest attendance, which is just over 12,000. That gives us a fluctuation of around 6,300 with Millwall this season. Ever so slightly above Millwall on this ranking, we've got the Sheffield United fans. They've had a fluctuation of just over 6,000 this season. Unsurprisingly, their attendances peaked when they played Sheffield Wednesday at home earlier in the campaign, but their attendances dipped to the lowest point that they've been this season when they played Bristol City in midweek not too long ago. Slap bang in the middle of this ranking, we've got the Hull City fans. They've had a fluctuation of just over 5,700 from their highest attendance to lowest attendance, and to be fair, I think these figures here show just how far Hull have actually come in the last few years. The fact that their lowest league attendance this season is over 18,600, I think is pretty mental, especially when you consider the fact that just a few years ago, Hull were getting average league attendances of around about 12,000. So their fan base has really grown a lot in recent years. They're 12th on this ranking. And speaking of a fan base who really has grown in recent years, that's also very much applicable to Coventry. They've had a fluctuation of just over 5,600 fans between their highest and lowest attendance this season. But once again, factoring in their lowest attendance this season in the league has been just over 24,500. That's really impressive. You know, when you go back 5 or 6 years and they were getting nowhere near those sorts of figures, the fact that that's their lowest attendance this season is really impressive. But into the top 10 we go, and this is the part of the list that you really want to be in, where you don't have that much of a fluctuation between your lowest and highest crowd. In 10th place, we've got Watford. They've only had a fluctuation this season of 4,299 fans. Their attendances peaked on Boxing Day when they played Portsmouth, and their attendances hit the lowest point that they have done this season when they played Preston North End in midweek back in January. In 9th place, we've got the QPR fans. A decent showing from them here. They've only had a fluctuation of just over 4,000 fans this season from their highest to lowest point. Their attendances peaked when they played Leeds United not too long ago, and QPR's attendances were lowest this season when they played Hull back in October, where they only attracted crowds of just over 13,400 that night. Coming in 8th place on this list, we've got the Burnley fans. An impressive turnout from them all season, really. They've only had a fluctuation in their crowds of 3,142, obviously, especially during the first half of the season. Burnley at Turf Moor were a bit of a tough watch. In recent weeks and months, I think they've been a lot more watchable on the eye. But with their ridiculous unbeaten streak this season, looking more than likely that they are going to be promoted, you can't have any grumblings about that as a Burnley fan. And in fairness to them, they have turned up week in, week out, really. The 7th least plastic fan base in the Championship is West Brom. Based on these numbers, they've only had a fluctuation in their crowds at the Hawthorns this season of 2,646 fans, which really isn't a lot. Ever since they've been back down in the Championship, West Brom fans have been some of the most consistent in the Championship, so no surprise whatsoever that they rank really quite highly on this list. Ranked as the 6th least plastic fan base in the Championship, we've got the Leeds United fans. They've only had a fluctuation of 2,403 fans between their lowest gate of the season and their highest gate. The most fans that Leeds have had in Ellen Road this season was actually against Sunderland on that Monday night game they had back in February, where they got a crowd of 36,804. But then their lowest attendance of the season came a few weeks after that when they played Millwall on a Wednesday night. That game had a crowd of 34,401 fans in total. Now, obviously, these numbers will be influenced by away fans travelling to the ground and things like that. I want to say Millwall only brought around 300-400 fans to Leeds on that midweek game, but Leeds did make more tickets available to the home fans as a result of that. But yeah, they've only had a fluctuation of just about 2,400 fans this season, Leeds. Ranked as the 5th least plastic fan base in the Championship, we've got the Plymouth Argyle fans. They've only had a fluctuation of 1,700 fans between their highest and lowest league attendance this season, and for all their struggles on the road this season, at points of this campaign, Plymouth have actually been a decent watch in some of their home matches. Their attendances this season have peaked at just over 17,000, and at their lowest was 15,305 fans. Ranked 4th on this list, we've got the Oxford fans in at the Kazan. They've only had a range this season of 1,354 fans between their top and bottom point in terms of attendances. Really consistent in terms of showing up week in, week out, and obviously their home form has been a massive reason into why they've been so competitive in the Championship this season. Picked up most of their points at home, haven't they? Now, we can definitely say it's not been a great season for Luton Town, but in terms of their fans turning up week in, week out, no one can really have any grumblings about that. Based on these numbers, they are the third least plastic fan base in the Championship. They've only had a fluctuation of 1,330 fans this season, so even while they've been going through these rough patches, their home fans especially have not deserted them. It's also been a very inconsistent season for Norwich as well, but their home support has not wavered. They've only had a fluctuation of 1,221 fans between their highest and lowest attendance of the season, which is unbelievably impressive. One of the most consistent fan bases in the Championship year upon year for selling out their home end. Their lowest home league attendance of this season came a few weeks ago when they played Sheffield Wednesday. That was on a Tuesday night and they got crowds of just over 25,000, but even that's still a very respectable figure for the Championship. But you might have guessed it by now, they've already topped a few of these videos that we've done recently, but Portsmouth are categorically ranked as the least plastic fan base in the Championship. They've only had a fluctuation of 1,039 fans between their highest attendance of the season and their lowest attendance of the season. So come rain or shine, whether it's the Tuesday night or whatever, Portsmouth fans are showing up, and they're showing up in numbers. Their highest league attendance of this season, just over 20,400. Their lowest league attendance this season was 19,388, and there's barely a fluctuation between those two numbers. Unbelievably impressive. They've got one of the best home supports in the Championship, some of the best travelling fans as well. Fair play to Pompey, you've topped this list. Now guys, obviously it goes without saying, this video was just for a little bit of fun, so do take it with a pinch of salt and don't take it too seriously. But if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll catch you all in the next one.